Hello to all of you. I'm Rebecca Sweeney, and I serve as Senior Director of Programs and Policy for the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association. And I want to thank you all for taking time to join us today for this WCMA members only webinar focused on how you can grow your business with support from our friends at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. Just a little housekeeping before we begin. First, please be sure that you're muted so that we can avoid interruptions during the presentations. And if you have any questions during the program, please type them into the chat box in your Zoom control panel. Now, here's a look at our agenda today. Chad Vincent, Chief Executive Officer for Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, will be kicking things off with an overview of the history, strategy, and structure that informs DFW's work. Jen Walsh, Chief Operating Officer, will detail ways DFW utilizes research insights to ensure effective programming. Suzanne Fanning, Chief Marketing Officer, is set to offer insight into DFW's multifaceted marketing efforts, from their consumer-facing campaigns to the Cheeselandia campaign community and more. And Kirk Scott, Senior Vice President for Dairy Company Communications, will share DFW's approach to reaching dairy professionals across a variety of channels and industry sectors. We have got a jam-packed hour in front of us, so we're going to dive right in. It's an absolute pleasure for me to introduce our first featured speaker, a man whose career includes leadership roles with Miller Brewing Company, Kraft Heinz, and Sartori Company, where he built the retail side of that business from scratch to the $100 million range in just a 6-year time frame. That boggles the mind. Now, all of Wisconsin's dairy industry benefits from his strategic vision and marketing know-how. Chad Vincent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Muted there. Great. Thank you, Rebecca, and thanks to WCMA for having us in on the webinar today. This is awesome. You know, we try and do whatever we can to reach out and help the dairy farmers, and one of the bigger ways we help the dairy farmers is through working with the processors and the cheese companies and industry, because the more cheese they make, the more Wisconsin milk they use, and that we're really here working for the farmers. So, Jen, could you get me to the next slide? So Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, when we talk about it, to isolate it to a very simple concept, we're here to build sales and trust. And we do that by working with and through folks in the industry. One way to think of us is really we're the marketing department for Wisconsin's dairy farmers. Jen? So there's a couple of things that we can and cannot do. At Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, we do absolutely no lobbying. That's why we have folks like WCMA and DBA and National Milk and all those guys. When we were created, they created us to really help find a way to make sure that the milk had a home, and that we found ways to have people appreciate dairy, appreciate cheese, and a way to market and sell it. A lot of our farmers say, well, you know, geez, we wish you guys would help us raise the price. And when they set the program up, it was specifically set up that we would not be in the middle of having anything to do with milk pricing, other than the fact that, you know, when we create more demand, price of cheese, the price of milk can increase, and that can help their margins. But that's a byproduct of what we do, not something that we focus on day in and day out. And as you all probably know, we don't make or deliver a product. We work with you guys and the cheese companies to help you sell as much cheese as you can. So the funding is all from dairy farmers. So the farmers in Wisconsin pay 15 cents a hundredweight, or about a penny a gallon, and 10 cents of that stays with our organization, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, and a nickel of that goes into DMI, which is the national organization. National organization is really critical. You know, they're the ones that do a lot of the heavy hitting research. You know, they're the ones that did the research that showed once again that, hey, butter is actually good for you, and got it on the cover of Time magazine, and overnight butter sales exploded, and they're kind of where they're at today. So we work hand in hand with a national group. But what we do at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin is focused heavily on building the Wisconsin cheese brand and Wisconsin cheese demand. So 90%, we play by the 90-90 rule here. So that in our world, that's 90% of the milk in the state gets turned into cheese, and 90% of that cheese is sold outside the state. So the vast majority of programming and work that we do is to build that Wisconsin cheese brand and to help drive sales of cheese from Wisconsin. And we really do that through our marketing and communication efforts. And Sue will be talking to you about that. Our channel and retail partnering, where we try and help build demand at retail. And Kirk will be talking a lot about that. And then we also work with, we have industry relations and affiliates. You know, if you've ever worked with CDR, we fund over half of CDR's operating budget. So, you know, that's another major way is that that the dairy farmers is not only helping the farmers, but it's also helping you directly. You know, there aren't that many people in places in the world, they have a research facility and an operational facility like CDR that can keep plants running, that can build innovation. They're integral to, I think, to all of what happens in dairy in Wisconsin. So we're really happy to be a major funder of them. And it's also, if you have any master cheesemakers, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin funds that program. So, Jen, if you go to the next one. So we play in really 4 different buckets. One is we're trying to build affinity for Wisconsin cheese. We want to make sure when people wake up, they realize that Wisconsin not only makes the most cheese, but we make the best cheese. I mean, 45–50% of the specialty cheese is now made in Wisconsin. And we want to make sure that people in Wisconsin, around the country, and actually around the globe, understand what Wisconsin cheese is and what makes it special. We also work on the distribution and sales and trial side. So we're really trying to make sure that once you guys have your wonderful products, that we help do whatever we can to build distribution at retail, at food service, and internationally. On the farmer side, and for many of the processors, you realize that building trust in Wisconsin and building food safety is critical. So that we really work hard on making sure that people understand that we have a safe product, and that we're very environmentally sound and environmentally responsible in the state in our production. And then internally, we leverage our culture and operations. We want to make sure that we're easy to deal with, that we've got a great culture, we got talented people that want to be here, that want to help the farmers and want to help you guys become more successful. So that's really DFW at 50,000 feet. You've probably seen these, right? The power of the badge, the Proudly Wisconsin cheese and Proudly Wisconsin dairy badges. We really are trying to get that on every product that comes out of the state that qualifies, because as we build the Wisconsin cheese brand, one of the critical things that we found is that consumers want Wisconsin cheese, but they can't always recognize which cheeses are from Wisconsin. So by putting this badge on there, we're spending millions of dollars every year to build awareness of that, so that people see that it's a marker of quality, and it's a marker that it comes from our home state. So that's really what we do at a 50,000 foot level. I'm in Chicago today at a hotel room. I've got a conference with actually the National Dairy Group downstairs that I stepped out of for this. I'm going to turn this over now to Jen Walsh, who is probably one of the best researchers in the country. And she's also our Chief Operating Officer and keeps the lights running at our place. So Jen, over to you, and Rebecca and the team, thank you so much for giving me 5 minutes of fame here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So hello, everybody. I'm Jen Walsh. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. And one of the roles that I play here is to lead our insights and information team. And our goal as a team is really to provide that information, to provide the insights, both to our internal teams at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. So to Kirk, who you're going to hear from, to Suzanne, who you're going to hear from. So we have an internal focus, but then we also really strive to share all of those insights and all of the information, all of the research that we do with the Wisconsin dairy industry at large. So we have kind of 2 focus areas, internal and external, but we really want to make sure that whoever is supporting Wisconsin's dairy industry, internal or external, that when you're making decisions, those decisions are data-based decisions to help ensure the greatest chance of success in the marketplace. So whether you are doing new product development, or you're creating new messaging campaigns, new promotional campaigns, we really are here to support you and make sure that before you do any of that, you've got the right information so that you can plan accordingly. And we have kind of 4 areas of research. You can see them bulleted out here. So consumer research is just very broad not necessarily tied to dairy, not tied to any channel, not retail, not food service, not, like I said, not even dairy. It's just kind of overall trends that will impact the dairy category. So this might be things like health and wellness trends or sustainability trends, anything like that, that is very broad and doesn't directly relate to dairy, but certainly will impact the dairy industry, because all of those things filter out into all the categories. So we kind of consider that just consumer research. We also have our retail research, which will surprise no one is about retail. So we have access to an IRI point of sale database that tracks everything that consumers are purchasing in a retail channel. And then we kind of scour that database and create some standard reports that really help tell the story of what's happening at retail. So we're looking at things like what varieties of cheese are growing the fastest, which ones are maybe falling out of favor, which forms are growing, which is really important as we think about the snacking trends. So we're really keeping an eye on how the aisle is really changing for cheese and dairy at retail. And we produce a lot of standard reports from that database. The database is enormous. It captures so much data. So we create some standard reports based on what we think has the broadest appeal to the Wisconsin dairy industry. So you can come into the library and just grab a report. It's already there. If you're looking for the hottest varieties or new product introductions in cheese, those reports are already there for you. But you might have a kind of off the wall question that we don't have a standard report for. So if you have a need for, say, you want to know what sales of organic queso blanco are in the club channel in the Northeast. Well, it's pretty niche. We don't have a standard report on that, but we can get it for you. So just because we don't have it out there, we can certainly pull that data to make sure, again, that you have the information you need to go to market. We also have food service research. And again, we have a database that we're using to track what's trending on menus, both broadly and with cheese specifically. We also do a biannual cheese tracker. So every other year we do this really big cheese tracker where we are monitoring sales of different varieties in the restaurant world overall, and then by different segments. So we're looking at restaurants versus hotels. We're looking at different types of cheese. We have 30 plus varieties of cheese that we're really digging into, and then looking at trends in food service overall, which, as you know, kind of a lot going on in food service the past couple of years. So it's certainly good research to have. And then we also have syndicated data. So syndicated data it's research done by somebody else. So we have partnerships with these vendors who are doing their own research, creating their own reports, and then they sell those reports. And these are sometimes dairy specific, sometimes not. So we have reports on, say, dairy alternatives or plant-based eating trends, or kind of how the different generations are approaching food. And because of how our partnerships are structured, we can't just turn those reports over to our cheese and dairy companies. Of course, our vendors' business models would fall apart. That's how it's built. But if you call us with a question, we can access those reports and synthesize the findings and give you the key takeaways from the report and share summaries with you. So you still kind of get the benefit of the report without having to pay for it, and honestly, without having to read it. So we'll give you the key takeaways from that too, if it can help answer a question that you have. So this Abraham Lincoln is purported to have said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." And I think that is really the goal of the Insights and Information team at DFW, right? We want to make sure that when you swing your axe, it's sharp. So we're here to make sure you have the information you need. Again, so when you go to the market, you've got the best information to make sure that you're successful, whether it's new products or campaigns, whatever it is. So that's our goal, is to really help you sharpen the axe and make sure that when you swing, you can connect. So with that said, we have lots of upcoming research plans. I don't have all of the research that we're going to do listed here. I have 2 fantastic research managers, and we do a lot of research. We post upwards of 200 research reports a year. So I'm not showing you all of them. I'm just giving you a little glimpse so that you can see kind of the types of things that we're doing. Certainly the menu trends that I already mentioned, COVID-19, we're doing a lot of research on the continued impact of the pandemic on how people are eating, how they're shopping, how they feel about, just going out into the world. So lots of research on that. Our retail sales trends, of course, that's with the IRI database that I mentioned. We are kind of dusting off a consumer decision tree piece of research that we did about 5 years ago and refreshing it. And that will be super interesting. It really looks at how consumers actually make a decision at the store shelf. When they're standing there faced with 100 different products, how are they actually analyzing the store shelf to make their decision on what to buy? Of course, sustainability, very hot topic right now. So we're continuing research on that. Health and wellness trends are certainly changing. How people think about health and wellness isn't the same as they used to think about it. So we continue to look at that. Snacking, of course, the trend that just will not die. So as long as it's trending upwards, we're researching it and how cheese can fit into it, how dairy can fit into it. And then finally, a look at Gen Z. So this is, the generation that's coming up after millennials, already huge spending power, and that is only growing. So we are making sure to keep tabs on what their needs are, what their motivations are, what their behaviors are, so that we can make sure that as the dairy industry, we can make sure that we're meeting those needs for that upcoming generation. So we have lots and lots of reports, a lot of information available to you. A great question for you would be, well, how do I get my hands on it? So you just go to wisconsindairy.org. You can see under dairy companies in that top ribbon, select dairy companies, click market information. And there we have the full complement, what we call our market information library, where you can access any of those reports. You will have to log in and register if you're not yet registered, but once you do that and you accept the terms and conditions, you have access to the total library. But I would like to just end with one thing, and that is if you get into the library, you feel overwhelmed because we have a lot of stuff out there, reach out to us. We'll help you find what you're looking for. And like I mentioned earlier, you might not actually find what you're looking for because it isn't standard. Just reach out to us and we'll do whatever we can to pull from whatever sources we have to help you find the information that you need. So that is my piece of it. I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne Fanning, who is our Chief Marketing Officer, who will talk to you about all of the fantastic marketing and promotion things that we're up to. So Suzanne, I am going to stop my share and allow you to share.
Sounds great. Give us a second to switch it over, folks.
What a great presentation, Jen. we worked together so closely and I had no idea that there were 200 different studies per year that you're putting out. That's a massive amount of information.
It really
basically is a treasure trove for our cheesemakers.
That's right.
You call it a library, I'm going to call it a treasure chest. Okay.
Well, and I'll say, Rebecca, we do understand that, a lot of our companies out there, we are blessed to have a really great research team. A lot of companies don't have the bandwidth to have a research team, a dedicated team. And I will also say access to that IRI database, it's expensive. So tap into us. There's no need for all of us to have access to this really expensive database. So that's why we're here to kind of share that with you.
Well, it's just incredible. Thank you so much, Jen and Suzanne. We are so excited to hear about what you have cooking on the marketing front.
Well, Rebecca, I am excited to talk about what we've got going on the marketing front. So I guess that makes us even. All right. We are here to just make sure that when folks see that Proudly Wisconsin cheese badge, that they know that they're getting the most incredible cheese that they can possibly get. And we are doing that in so many different ways. We just really want to make sure that we're creating that demand for Wisconsin cheese. A few of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today are the fact that we are driving about $50 million in media coverage annually now, which is pretty huge. And I'll be excited to show you a sizzle reel of some of that media coverage later. I'm also going to talk to you about Cheeselandia that Rebecca mentioned at the beginning. That is our network of consumer advocates. So it's our approach to influencer marketing. It's a little bit different, and I'm excited to tell you about it and how you can get involved. Also, like really great numbers. We've had about a 4,000% increase in social engagement. So people want to hear the story of Wisconsin cheese, and not only like hear the story, they want to participate in it. And so that's really exciting to us. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about the website. So we were excited because this past year, our website, wisconsincheese.com, hit a new record. Our previous record was about 1 million visitors. And this past year, we had over 3 million visitors. Now, there are a lot of ways that we're doing that. First of all, it's through digital advertising. So what we do for advertising, this is not like a TV commercial that like just the general public's gonna see. We are very targeted. And so we are going after people who are food fanatics with our advertising. We advertise on not only sites where they are, but we can also follow them around and advertise specifically to them. We have ongoing campaigns to do that. We also reach out to folks with our SEO program. So that's search engine optimization. We're constantly purchasing the right search terms for Wisconsin cheese and all kinds of education, and making sure that we are supplying the information that these food fanatics are consistently looking for. So we're evaluating that daily to make sure that we are optimizing everything that we're doing. We do a lot of content on our site. And if you haven't looked at Wisconsin cheese lately, I want to make sure that you do. I want you to look at your company profile on there to make sure that's up to date. Because like I said, we're driving lots of views. And ultimately, we want to send people to you, and we want to publicize you and the products that you're making, the stories about you. And we do that through a lot of articles that we have on our site. If you visit the blog, if you look under inspiration and you visit the Cheese Life blog, you will see tons of stories about cheesemakers, about cheeses, education, how to make a charcuterie board, how to cut cheese, which cheese knife to use. I mean, there are so many different articles that are out there. We also have a ton of videos. In fact, this shouldn't say videos. It should say videos, 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 because videos are really, really important. We're in the process of making a whole lot of new videos right now, because that's the way that people want to consume information. And coming in 2022, you will see Wisconsin Cheese TikTok. So lots more video content to come there. Of course, recipes remain really, really important, highly visited, and it's our goal to be as inclusive as possible. So make sure that you're staying in touch with us, telling us about your new cheeses, telling us about cheeses that should be publicized, telling us stories that we need to know, because we really do want to make sure that we're including as many cheese companies as we possibly can and telling all the greatest stories out there. Now, when it comes to social, we have developed about 750 pieces of new content in the last 6 months to a year. So a lot of different cheeses now have illustrations that we've created. Again, we talked about videos a little bit. There are all kinds of really fun things that are happening in our social world. I want to make sure that you guys are following Wisconsin Cheese on Instagram and on Facebook. Make sure that you share some of the content. And you know what? You guys can have the content. So we're like more than happy to give you some of these illustrations of cheeses, these educational videos, and you guys can use them as well. So we're putting all of this together, and we want to make sure that you're using it to help drive your business as well. All right, we talked a little bit about publicity, and this is an area where the team really shines. We work with producers and editors every single day, and we talk to them about why and how Wisconsin cheese is the best cheese on the planet. We have earned major publicity nationally, which we're going to share with you, but also we drive local broadcast coverage in markets across the country. Now, maybe some of you remember a few years back, we used to have folks in this building that would go out to different TV stations across the state of Wisconsin, and they would talk about Wisconsin cheese. And we took a look and we said, you know what? Everybody in Wisconsin already knows how great the cheese is. So let's do this nationwide. So over the last 2 years, we've had local coverage in all 50 states, and we've got some examples of that too. So perhaps you'll be in Seattle and the presenter will pair a Wisconsin cheese with a local jam or something like that. It just gives us a lot more credibility. But you guys, People all over the country are talking about Wisconsin cheese, and it is huge. They absolutely love it.
Wisconsin, the state of cheese, is sending everyone home with a selection of award-winning Wisconsinitis and cheeses for the perfect home.
We are completely obsessed with making the greatest cheese on the planet.
State of cheese.
The state of cheese.
I mean,
Take that.
they win more awards than any other state or country.
Dairy farmers in Wisconsin last week broke a Guinness World Record after constructing a cheese board that featured more than 145 different types of cheese.
Gotta represent our dairy farmers.
Dairy farmers of Wisconsin. Represent.
You know, when I competed on Top Chef, the key was starting with the best ingredients if you were going to make a really wonderful dish. And when you consider the best of the best, you have to look at Wisconsin cheese.
Championship quality ingredients, like the Wisconsin cheeses that we have right here in all of our recipes.
But speaking of that, Wisconsin is the state of cheese.
We're here celebrating American Cheese Month and the 180th anniversary of cheese making in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is a world of cheese in one state.
What I love about Wisconsin cheese, they're like one of the only states that you have to be certified to be a cheesemaker.
So great meals start with great cheese. I'm obsessed with Wisconsin cheese.
When you shop for cheese, let's make sure we get the best.
I always look for this Proudly Wisconsin cheese badge.
Has been making cheese longer than it's been a state. In fact, it's Wisconsin's 180th anniversary for crafting world famous cheese.
Their Wisconsin's Master Cheesemaker program is one of 2 in the world.
A box of chocolates? Absolutely. A box of cheese from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Holy moly, Oli.
So there you go. Lots of great publicity. Hopefully some of you saw your own cheeses in there. And if not, like, let's talk. Let us know about your products. Let us know about the stories that we need to be telling on your behalf. Okay, Cheeselandia, that's another area I want to quickly cover. And that is our ambassador program. So you guys, you hear the buzzword influencer marketing all the time. Well, we have switched the model a little bit because we said, you know what? We're not going to buy friends. We're not going to reach out, pay somebody to write a post about Wisconsin cheese, and then when the money stops, the conversation stops. We looked for micro influencers. We looked for people who were truly passionate fans of Wisconsin and the cheeses that we make here. And then we gave them some cheeses, we gave them some materials, we gave them some education, we gave them a community, we empowered them, and we continue to inspire them through our community called Cheeselandia. Now, there are several different components to Cheeselandia. One of them is house parties. So I think that your DCC reps have reached out to you and kind of shared a little bit and perhaps have offered opportunities to host some parties. So I just want to show you real quickly what a party looks like. This is from one of our recent rounds of parties this year. This is Sarah Ken. She lives in Austin, Texas. So we sent her a box of cheese, and this is what she created, and invited friends and created a lot of social content for us. So this is the kind of thing that our Cheeselandians are doing. We have actually now it's over 4,500 just really, really passionate brand folks. And we love it because they're constantly online talking about how fantastic Wisconsin cheese is. They are calling out brands, they are tagging you guys, and they are like finding cheese in stores and taking pictures and saying like, hey, I don't even know what this cheese is, but it has the Proudly Wisconsin cheese badge, so I know it's going to be good. and then they eat it and tell everybody about it. So this community is the real deal, folks. We would love for you to get involved. We would love for these people to taste some of your cheeses so that they have a chance to talk about it. It's a pretty cool program. And I just want to show you this real quickly. I mean, Adweek named it Influencer Community of the Year. And I just want you to take a look at the other winners of the categories that Adweek selected. Procter & Gamble, Zoom, Best Buy, Nike, Peloton, and Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. You guys, I mean, look at the company that we're in. So definitely, if there's a way for you to get involved, we would love for you to get involved, because this program is really helping us change perceptions of Wisconsin cheese. It's really helping us elevate what people think, and it's really capturing conversations and capturing hearts. So that was something if you have a chance to get involved with Cheeselandia, let's do it. Let's find a way to make it happen. And then the last thing I want to talk about is some of our integrated campaigns. So we work with retailers across the country, and we have several different promotions going on. Right now, we've got the More the Merrier happening at retail, and there's also a really great consumer component. And in fact, right at this very moment, we have live content going on Facebook with an expert showing how to make a Wisconsin cheese board. And so that's going on weekly. There's a consumer contest. If you follow us on social, maybe you saw a winner a couple weeks ago that someone created an entire Van Gogh Starry Night out of Wisconsin cheese. So we're telling people to buy Wisconsin cheese wherever they are in the country, create a cheese board. Cheese is My Love Language is going to be coming up. It's going to run from National Cheese Lovers Day, January 20th to Valentine's Day. And that's the promotion that Drew Barrymore was talking about in the sizzle reel, where we're encouraging people, if you love someone, give them a box of cheese from Wisconsin. And then Wonders of Wisconsin is going to be back again. That's American Cheese Month, May. We're working with retailers across the country already to make sure that they're having some incredible Wisconsin cheese promotions across the country. So lots of exciting stuff happening there. I'm sure that your DCC rep has shared this calendar with you. If not, reach out to them and ask them to share it, because we definitely want to get you guys involved in all of these things that we're doing. We're successful if you're successful. So let us help you in any way that we possibly can. All right, next up, I have Kirk, who is our Senior Vice President of Dairy Company Communications. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it. If I can be half as dynamic as Sue is, I'm going to have a successful day today. I want to take you through, we've got our group that we call channel management. And so that includes a number of different people within our company overall. I'm heading up the Dairy Company Communications team. And so Sue referenced a number of times the DCC account representative. That's my team. And we're constantly out there working to engage companies in the promotions, events, get you involved in the various different things we have going on with the company, all of our consumer promotions, as well as the things going on out in retail, providing you with a broad range of marketing and business building support overall. We've also got the retail programs team out there. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more here in a minute, but they're all about trying to drive and execute promotions out at point of sale and how can we make sure that the consumers, when they're there shopping in their retail and their grocery, they're picking up the Wisconsin cheeses and they're putting those into their shopping carts. And a major part of that is really generating greater awareness and making that Proudly Wisconsin Cheese badge very visible, and where they can see it, they can get attracted in there, they can come in and get our products. Because our team, with all of the marketing that's going on, the consumer marketing, we've got consumers now going in looking for the Proudly Wisconsin Cheese badge, knowing that that's the product that they want to pick up and take home. So that's the kind of programs we'll go into here in a little bit on that. And then our food service team, we've got a separate team working on the food service front, also trying to really generate a greater awareness of Wisconsin cheeses, the Proudly Wisconsin Cheese badge, all of our various different products that we have, and get consumers putting those Wisconsin products and selecting various different food service items and menu items that carry Wisconsin cheeses as an ingredient. So as we go through these kind of three areas, the first thing that I wanted to mention and bring a point to is the Wisconsin Master Cheesemaker Program. It was referenced in earlier in one of the video in the sizzle reel that we had, but this is it's the only one in the United States that is one of only 2 programs in the world where a cheesemaker can really take their cheesemaking capabilities to the next level and go through a master's program. So we want to really highlight this. A number of you already have masters in your organizations. There are 60 master cheesemakers right now that are operating in the US or in the state who are making products that they're certified for. And it's really a tremendous program. We work with you, we connect with CDR, make sure that this gets executed, and then we promote that as well. Proudly Wisconsin Cheese Badge. This is really an important part of what all we do. As I said, we've made incredible strides over the last 4 years now in terms of awareness of this badge, and consumers are out there looking for it. These are examples of a couple of different companies and how we want to have that badge on the packaging, right on the product. In order for you to get into the various different public relations and on TV and get your products placed and centered and highlighted, as Sue was showing us a little bit ago, we want to have that badge on there. That's an important part of making the connection, as Chad said, between your brand and carrying all of the great benefits of being from Wisconsin. So that's a critically important part of what we do with the DCC team. Demos is an area where we just come off about a year, almost a year and a half of no demos. As we got into the pandemic, this was a really important part of what was done out in retail, and it literally stopped overnight. Fortunately, what we've been seeing in the last about 3-4 months is more and more retailers are getting back into executing demos again. So this is an important part of the support that we provide to the cheese companies. We want you to get out there, let people know that you've got the product, it's from Wisconsin, all those great attributes from there, but get them to try it. We've got research from a ways back that shows that when a consumer has the opportunity to taste the product or to try it at point of sale, they're 9 times more likely to pick that product up and purchase it. So this is an important part of the support that we provide to the cheese companies is with demos. Advertising is another really important area, and you can see here a number of different ways that and types of advertising that we support with. So we support companies in terms of your traditional print advertising, social media, digital advertising. On the right there, you can see actually a table tent. So point of sale materials that go up either in a grocery store or in a restaurant. We'll help support you with those kinds of materials. Highlight the middle one for just a second. Sue referenced all of the thousands of pieces of content that we have. I'll highlight that one because it's a social media post. Not only do we have the badge on there, but the photography that they've used and even the way they talk about some of the products is stuff that's come from us, and that's free content available to you to use for all of your various different marketing. So we support with all of the advertising in those pieces. That's your DCC person would be able to help with all of those kinds of support items. On the retail side, we have the US cut into 7 different regions, and there's a regional marketing manager that works in each of those areas. Right now, over 98% of the grocers in the United States carry some Wisconsin cheese. We're in every single state in the union. And so we've got our RMMs out in the marketplace working with all of the various different retailers. The focus we have for retail is the top 200 retailers in the US are our primary objective. We want to work with them. We also want to work with influencers in the marketplace. So places like retailers like Nugget out in California, in the San Francisco market. Others that we have in Sendix, even here in the state of Wisconsin, would be a similar kind of an influencer. And those are retailers where they might not be in the top 200, but other retailers look to see what they're doing. They're kind of leading the marketplace in terms of what do they carry, how do they market things, how do they promote, et cetera. So those are the 2 primary groups that we are focusing on in retail. The types of things that we do, our primary activities out there, print ad funding. This is really important for the cheese companies because when you're in one of our print ads, you could be focused on other elements of the promotion. You could be spending your financing on TPRs, couponing, other things like that to build the promotion out and make it bigger because we're covering the cost of that particular ad. What we try to do is to get block ads. So we get a themed Wisconsin block ad, quarter page, half page. In some cases, we even get full page ads in the flyers for retailers that show multiple different Wisconsin cheeses. It really grabs the attention of consumers. They see that and they go looking for those products when they get to the shelf. Sampling events and demos, just like we support individual brands with demos. Out on the retail side, our RMMs are working with retailers to put together in-store demos that have 3, 4, sometimes more Wisconsin cheeses all being demoed at the same time. Really an important part of what we try to execute out in the marketplace. Display contests, we've got display and sales contests going on. It's really exciting to see a retailer that has multiple different stores across their chain competing with one another to see who can put up the biggest display of Wisconsin cheeses. It's really exciting. It's something that we can get them excited about. It really captures consumer attention when they get into the stores. Integrated promotions, Sue talked about that a little bit. While they're out doing fantastic promotions and really marketing these ideas with consumers, having events and contests and things with consumers, we're executing it in store. And I've got an example I want to just show you in a second on that one. Social and digital content, we provide all that content we've talked about. We help them have a digital presence, the retailers, and we put up timeless and point of sale materials in store, all things that we try to get out there, grand openings, etc. So we really support the retailer in trying to promote Wisconsin cheese each and every day. This is an example I wanted to show you. The Wonders of Wisconsin was our integrated promotion that we had back in May. Really was a big deal. And you can see there in the picture, we've got over half a dozen, 6, 7 different brands, but look at the presence that we have with the Proudly Wisconsin cheese and the Wisconsin messaging. Set up, they basically took over the whole cheese case for Wisconsin for this particular promotion. Along with that, we had a 1/4-page ad that you can see that's a block ad that includes all of those various different products that are being highlighted and promoted in the promotion. This is all going on. They also had digital going on. They had email blasts going out to their customers, et cetera. So all of this integrated approach really drives a lot of incremental sales. It's pretty amazing. Actually, hot off the press, we were just talking with one of our retail chains here, a medium-sized retail chain in Wisconsin marketplace yesterday, and they shared some data with us for what's going on right now, the More the Merrier campaign. And it's just incredible. The first week in November, they shared a 3-week time frame pre-promotion, and then the 3-day time frame of the promotion itself. Kind of an average weekend for them was to sell about roughly 90 units. When we had that 3-day promotion, they sold over 2,300 units. So it's absolutely incredible. I mean, that's a 26-time increase in terms of the amount of products sold as a result of one of these integrated promotions. Needless to say, that retailer wants to do it again soon. On the food service side, one of the key things that we want to do is to get that Proudly Wisconsin cheese badge out there and get consumers to so that they know out on the menus and things that the recipes and the products that these food service and the restaurants are serving to them carry Wisconsin cheese. You can see some research that we've done where 90% of the consumers say that quality of the cheese affects the taste of the dish. It also 88% of those consumers think that the quality of that cheese actually affects their impression of the restaurant overall. And Wisconsin consumers see Wisconsin as high quality. They see it as great tasting. And so we're helping to drive that positive perception of the restaurants. 71% said they're more likely to order an item with cheese on it if they see that Proudly Wisconsin cheese badge. So making that connection to Wisconsin on the food service side is as important as it is on retail. Another key element that we have in a way that we promote out on the food service side is trying to drive distribution through limited time offers. LTOs are a really important part for restaurants in terms of trying to generate excitement, bring new people into the restaurants, bring people in more frequently to the restaurants and get them to try different things. So it is all incremental volume, incremental sales to them. We work with the restaurant chains to try to come up with ideas for limited time offers that include cheeses, obviously Wisconsin cheese, and then promote them as such to the consumers who are coming into their stores. So it's a really powerful tool that we have on the food service side as well. Making connections is probably, I kind of saved this for the last, but it's probably certainly not the least, one of the most important things we probably do overall. We do that in a couple of different ways. One of them is our buyer missions. So we want to make connections between you and your sales force and the cheese companies directly with the retailers in this case, or the food service people who come in. So what we do is we actually fly them into the state of Wisconsin, put them up in a hotel, get them on a bus, take them around, tour actual cheese facilities, give them the ability to connect with the cheesemakers themselves, as well as the rest of the organization, to learn your story, learn about your products, and make those direct relationships. That slowly came to a bit of a halt as well because of the pandemic. But what we found was switching to virtual. We found an incredibly strong tool overall for us to be able to use on the virtual buyer missions. It gives us a chance to tailor and provide a custom communication between and custom presentation to each of the retailers that we get on the virtual buyer missions. So we can focus on education, we can focus on learning about the dairy industry and farms, we can focus about as well as your cheese, which is always a critical component on that. And we found that we're going to be doing that as an ongoing basis because it's complementary. When it's really cold here in February, January, February, people don't necessarily want to fly to Wisconsin and go out and visit the cheese companies, the dairy farms. We can do it virtually. So we've actually nearly doubled the amount of the reach that we have in terms of reaching out to the retailers and having these buyer missions. And we do them for both retail and for food service. Another way that we connect, so virtual buyer missions and live buyer missions, we're bringing the buyers into Wisconsin and bringing them into you. Another way that we help to take you out to them is through our trade shows. Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, we have a very large presence in the big retail and food service trade shows each year, things like the Fancy Food Show, National Restaurant Association. We have a strong presence there, and we usually bring between 8 and 12 different cheese companies to be a part of our booth at a reduced cost. So we're able to get you out into the marketplace to engage with all of the buyers that are at those trade shows. But even if it's not one of the big national shows, there are regional shows. You might have a distributor trade show that you go to. We support you in terms of helping offset some of your booth costs for the various different trade shows that you might go to where we don't have a presence. So it's important not only for us to bring buyers into the state, but it's important for us to try to help get you out and connect with them out at these shows as well. Similarly, on the food service side, not only are we going to these trade shows, not only are we getting people out there, but we've been really doing a nice job, the team has, of driving awareness and engagement and really taking a thought leadership kind of a position at these shows. At the Northwest Food Show recently, we had a seminar on how to do pairings for all of the attendees that were at that trade show. At the recent Create show, we had a very focused targeted group of about 40 buyers that came in. They received some data essentials data in terms of what kind of trends were going on in the bars and what was happening with respect to cheese and cheese consumption. That was followed up then by us giving a demonstration and educating them on all of the various different cheeses produced in the state of Wisconsin, helping them to understand the quality of the product coming out of the state, and then wrap that up with a pairing of various different alcohols that could be used in a bar or in a restaurant with the various different Wisconsin cheeses that are there. So we're helping to educate and make those connections with these kinds of important organizations, as well as connecting them directly to your companies. So a lot going on there in terms of connection. It's a really important part of what we do overall. Looks like we're running a little bit here. I want to be able to get to some questions and answers, but after seeing all that, hopefully you've learned more about what we do as an organization broadly, what we can do to support you as an organization. Hopefully we pique some interest. Need to get you to go out and follow us a little bit. Go to the Wisconsin Cheese, as Sue had said, go to wisconsincheese.com, see what's going on in the digital front, see what we're doing in our consumer marketing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, see what's happening on our social media side. Learn more about Cheeselandia and what's going on with that whole community by following that on Instagram as well. There's a lot that you can see out there that we're doing on the marketplace. We're out in a pretty big way and have a really strong presence overall. How can you reach us? How can you contact us? Jen went through and showed step by step literally where to go on that wisconsindairy.org website, how to get in there. go to wisconsindairy.org, go to dairy companies, and it's actually one click away from a whole number of areas. You can get to a sub-site that we have on exports. You can get to our site on the DCC, where you can apply for various different programs that we have and support that we have. You can link through and get to the retail website that we have. You can link through and get to the food service website that we have. Just across the board, it's really a one-stop shop for you. We also want you to reach out to us. If you don't know who your DCC contact is, when you go to this website, you can see there in the red, we have contact information for you. If you don't know who they are, reach out to me directly, and I will make sure that we get you to whoever you need to see it throughout the organization to answer any questions that you have and talk to you about how can we get engaged and get you involved in the various different promotions and programs that we have overall. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate the time and the interest today. And with that, I think we'll turn it over to see if there are any questions.
Well, first of all, Kirk, wow. That was a lot of information all at once. And the thing that was really driven home for me was not only is there this treasure chest of resources available, whether it be in research or in marketing or in connectedness, either on the retail or the food service side, but there's just a treasure chest of human beings who care an awful lot about moving more Wisconsin cheese to the benefit of dairy processors and, very critically, dairy farmers. So we thank you so much for the work that you're doing day in and day out, and for detailing what you're doing for us all today. As you noted, we do have some questions. Some were pre-submitted and many were included in the chat today. And we'll start with those pre-submitted questions and then get to as many as we possibly can. I promise anybody who sent me a question will get an answer, whether in this webinar or after the fact. First question, does DFW have any resources to help me participate in food shows? And I'll tell you that very specifically, this person felt that it was maybe out of their current budget to be able to go to some of these food shows. So Kirk, do you have an answer for us on that?
Well, that's actually where the short answer is yes. And that is what we do. So we provide, shows can be really expensive. We recognize that. So when we're at a show with our booth, it's a significantly reduced. In fact, it's very, very cheap for the cheese companies to participate. The way that we get that, as you might suspect, we don't have unlimited number of booth space, but we send out a survey, and hopefully you received the survey just within the last about 3 or 4 weeks now, where we look at what level of interest do you have in the various different trade shows across the course of the season, trade show season in the year. And then we try to make sure and spread out across as many cheese companies as we can to bring you along with us. And it is really quite inexpensive for you to do that. The other way is for the trade shows, we pay funding to help offset your booth costs. So typically in the range of 25% of your booth costs, we will offset that for you to be able to get out there. So we want to try to make it easy for you to get to the shows.
That's great. It sounds like a promising lead for the folks who had this question in the chat. Next question, does DFW, does Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, do any trainings for people who demo our cheeses in grocery stores?
It's a good question. Do we train them specifically? No, we don't. We could work with you though and try to make provide you any kind of materials you might, because at the end might need for training. Because at the end of the day, it's really about you and your story. That's what you need these people that are running the demos and the samples to be able to talk to. So we do provide talking points, things of that sort. But if you really want to try to train people, we would work with you to try to do that in a more aggressive way, I guess, in terms of making sure they get your messaging across. We can provide what you provide to us, but real training we would help you with.
It's nice to have those demos back. Hopefully many more in the year to come too. Here's a marketing question. I wonder if Sue might still be able to answer this one. Does DFW do anything? Well, I think we know the answer from what you shared with us earlier, Sue, but here's the question anyway, pre-submitted. Does DFW do anything like the Happy Cows campaign in California or the Got Milk ads?
Well, I'm glad that somebody asked that question. So I think that advertising certainly has continued to have an evolution. And I know for me personally, my children don't even watch TV on the TV, right? So they're just always on their computers. They're on all these different platforms. They're not watching traditional TV. We are living in a world now where people will pay a premium to skip your ad, right? So when you have Hulu or something, you can pay extra so you never have to watch any ads. And that's what people are doing. So those giant advertising campaigns still cost millions and millions of dollars, but are so much less effective than they used to be. So we do focus on advertising, but we're much more targeted. We have like a finite amount of dollars, and we want to make sure that we're hitting the target. The target that we are after is food fanatics, people who feel like food is core to their identity. So you saw we have such a great research department with Jen, and we know these food fanatics. We have talked to them. We have had focus groups. We have done research to get to know them. We know their habits. We know where they are. We are able to track these people across the web, and we are advertising directly to them. We are able to see who comes to our site, who takes action, and we're able to continue to connect with them. So we're serving up ads and we're serving up content, and that just works way better in today's marketing mix than a traditional advertising campaign. And again, traditional advertising would just be everybody, and we are very focused on that food fanatic target. Those food fanatics inherently want to tell other people what they know. They want to be able to say, hey, I know food, and I'm going to tell you the best cheese in the world comes from Wisconsin. And so that's what we're equipping them with on a much more personal level. Does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, and I want to tell you this. My kids are big fans of your page, but then they bring me things like the Starry Night cheese board, and there's a higher level of expectation. Now I can put something out with broth and Hennings and Pine River cheese spread. It's not necessarily going to look like Starry Night, but I also want to say kudos on our family's favorite sugar cookie recipe using Crave Brothers mascarpone. I'm a big fan, and just to underline the point, give Wisconsin Cheese a follow on social media. If you're not seeing the content that they're putting out, it's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for what you do, Sue. We have time for just a couple more questions here. The next question we have, we operate in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Can our Minnesota employees still join in DFW food safety trainings? Ooh, this is a tricky one.
Well, it can be tricky. Hopefully it isn't. If it's Wisconsin, you're a Wisconsin cheese company, then absolutely you can. Even if you're not a Wisconsin company, you can, but there are some caveats associated with that, because this training is all funded by the dairy farmers of Wisconsin. It is all about trying to really move that Wisconsin milk. But those caveats would be, anybody can come to these if there's an open seat at the training, if you will. But those seats always go to Wisconsin company people first, and they usually are filled up. We would also, if you came from another state or a company from another state, you would probably be paying a little bit more, because we have a significantly reduced cost for all of these training for Wisconsin based cheese companies.
I think that maybe there's a little bit of jealousy across our borders, huh?
We tend to think there might be.
Well, it's great that that's still an accessible resource for others, even if the price tag is a little bit higher. Our next question, and I think this is the last one that was pre-submitted, so we'll get to the chat questions next. Can DFW help with the labeling redesign?
Short answer is yes, absolutely. It's not a simple question, though. A label redesign typically isn't just moving a little graphic element from here to there, or a slight change. To really do a label redesign usually requires some kind of research, insights. What are you trying to do? What's your messaging going to be? How does your label really communicate who you are quickly and easily to consumers who take a look at it? So, and to that end, we've got a tremendous marketing team here that would love to help and in terms of giving some of their insight and to interact with you. I highly recommend that you be able to work with an agency of some kind that can walk you through the steps. We can support you in that too. And we've got agencies that we can put you in contact with, and we can help offset some of the costs of things like that label redesign. So absolutely, if you've got something going there that you want to try to get our support with, we can help in a number of different ways.
All right, just a couple of questions from the chat very quickly, rapid fire. We're coming to the end of our hour. Kirk, we had one question in the chat. Where was the other master cheesemaker program? They noted you had said Wisconsin.
Yeah, Switzerland has a program which we like to think is probably a lot easier than the one that we have here.
Oh no. Anybody from Emmy on here, just cover your ears. And then the other question, how can processors that sell business to business better partner with DFW when they don't have a retail presence?
I think that's an area that's of great importance to us because B2B is a big part of the business overall in the state. It's a lot of volume without question when you get into food service and third-party vendors to private label, et cetera. And so what I would suggest there is reach out to your contact, your DCC contact, and let's talk about it. What is your path to market? What are the ways that you market yourselves, your brand and your products in the marketplace? And how can we potentially tap into that and support you and work with you? Trade shows is an example of an area where we could possibly work with you and help you. We could for sure, digital marketing. There's a number of different things that we could potentially do. It's not quite as program driven as we have on the retail side, but I think there are certainly ways that we can support you and work with you. It's a matter of sitting down and talking through it.
Well, thank you so much, Kirk and Jen and Sue and Chad, for sharing your knowledge, your time, and your passion for Wisconsin dairy with us. Thank you so much for the work that you do day in and day out. For anybody watching us live or the recorded version, we will have information about how to contact all of these folks up on wischeesemakers.org. I also want to invite you to join us again in January for our WCMA members only webinar which will focus on energy efficiencies and the cost savings that you can realize, as well as sustainability stories that you can then tell when you undertake those projects. We'll have representatives from Focus on Energy highlighting their free resources, including grants that can help you get those projects up off the ground. And we'll also be sharing some of our members' success stories, energy efficiency projects that have made them both more sustainable and more profitable. And you can register today at wischeesemakers.org. We want to thank everyone for joining us and sharing part of their day with us today. Have a good one.
Want to just